That 70s show seemed like a sweet story of rebellious teens and goofy 70s nostalgia. But when the lights went out, the cast fell into wildly different fates. Some lost everything, some vanished from Hollywood, and others became millionaires. Let's uncover who they've truly become in 2025 and prepare to be shocked by their transformations. Mila Kunis. As Jackie Burkhart. Mila Kunis was born on August 14, 1983, in Kyiv, Ukraine. At just 14 years old, she played Jackie Burkhart, the sharp-tongued, high-maintenance teen whose transformation from spoiled girl to young woman became a core emotional arc of That 70s Show in 1998. Jackie's comedic cruelty and unexpected vulnerability made her unforgettable. But Kunis's journey to maturity in real life is more challenging than any episode. Her marriage to Ashton Kutcher entered its darkest chapter in 2023 after both wrote character letters supporting Danny Masterson before his sentencing. The backlash was swift, global, and merciless, costing Kunis brand deals, straining friendships, and pushing her marriage to the brink. Therapy became a weekly ritual, not out of luxury, but necessity, as she and Kutcher worked through ruptured trust and the fear. Besides, emotional fatigue has shadowed her for years. The cultural dislocation she carried from immigrating at age 7 resurfaced during the scandal, reopening old wounds of wanting to belong in a world that always felt ready to reject her. Even during her triumphs, Oscar-nominated Black Swan, her long-running voice work on Family Guy, she privately questioned whether success could withstand the weight of a single mistake. In 2025, at age 42, Mila Kunis remains active in Hollywood while prioritizing stability at home and rebuilding her public image one quiet step at a time. Her estimated net worth is $80 million, a testament to decades of work, though she often admits that no amount of success has ever fully eased the old ache of starting life over in a country that once felt impossibly far from home. Ashton Kutcher. As Michael Kelso. Ashton Kutcher was born on February 7, 1978, in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He joined That 70s Show in 1998 as Michael Kelso, the handsome, clueless charmer whose naive optimism shaped much of the show's early comedy at the age of 20. Kelso became the series' comic engine, the character who made chaos feel strangely innocent. But Kutcher's life was never as simple as the innocent appearance of his character. His marriage to Mila Kunis has weathered storms far more intense than anything scripted in Point Place. When Kutcher and Kunis wrote character letters supporting Danny Masterson in 2023, the public backlash was immediate and violent, shaking their marriage to its core. He later admitted that the controversy triggered old wounds from his first marriage and reopened insecurities he thought he had buried years ago. Their relationship survived, but only after months of therapy, apologies, and the painful realization that the world no longer saw Kutcher as the harmless Kelso of his youth. Kutcher has battled his own health struggles as well. Years of heavy drinking in his 20s ended only after a heart scare forced him into sobriety in 2000. In 2020, vasculitis nearly stole his mobility and vision, leaving him dependent on others in a way that terrified him. While his career remained strong, with 2.5 Men in the Ranch defining his adult television image, the physical toll of those years pushed him toward a quieter and more intentional lifestyle. Now, Ashton Kutcher is 47 years old, dividing his time between acting, venture capital work, and raising his 2 children with Kunis in their self-designed farmhouse. His net worth stands at approximately $200 million, yet he often remarks that money has never insulated him from regret, vulnerability, or the complicated legacy of loyalty and consequences left behind by the Masterson case. Wilmer Valderrama as Fez. Wilmer Valderrama was born on January 30, 1980, in Miami, Florida. In That 70s Show in 1998, he played Fez, the soft-spoken, mysterious exchange student whose quirks became the heart of the show's humor when he was at 18 years old. Fez served as the outsider through whom the series explored belonging, loneliness, and the fragile hope of finding a place to fit in. But Valderrama's real life challenges him in ways Fez has never faced. His romantic life, long scrutinized by the public, left scars that followed him into adulthood. Relationships with much younger rising stars like Lindsay Lohan and Demi Lovato sparked years of criticism, painting him as a man trapped between fame and emotional immaturity. Lovato's later reflections, and the song widely interpreted as condemning their age gap, cast a harsh spotlight that forced Valderrama to confront choices he had avoided for years. When he finally found stability with Amanda Pacheco, the engagement in 2020 felt less like a milestone and more like a fragile second chance. Their growing family brought joy, but even joy carried shadows. The pressure of repairing a public image, coupled with the emotional weight of past controversies, created quiet strain as they prepared for the birth of their second child in 2025. Valderrama faced his own anxieties because Amanda continued working, sometimes using the long hours on set as a shield from unresolved tension at home. Now, at age 45, Wilmer Valderrama remains a central figure on NCIS while raising two young children with Pacheco and navigating the complexities of a calmer, more accountable adulthood. His estimated net worth is $8 million, a steady foundation built after years defined as much by reinvention as by regret. Tommy Chong as Leo Ching-kwake. Tommy Chong was born on May 24, 1938, in Edmonton, Canada. At 61 years old, he played Leo Ching-kwake, the drifting, soft-voiced hippie whose gentle confusion became a fan favorite, in That 70s Show, 1998 to 2006. It was a role that looked effortless on screen, even as his personal life was shifting under his feet. His marriage to Maxine Sneed had already collapsed by the time fame surged. When he married Shelby Fittis in 1975, he found steadiness, but the relationship was repeatedly strained by the unpredictable rhythm of his career, from reunion projects with Cheech Marine to sudden absences caused by legal troubles that unsettled the whole family. And just as the household regained its balance, illness interrupted everything. Prostate cancer forcing treatment in 2012, then colorectal cancer in 2015, both reshaping his sense of identity in ways he never expected. Recovery was slow, and the emotional weight of illness blurred into his work. Returning as Leo in That 90s Show felt triumphant, but he also admitted that stepping back onto a set after cancer became a reminder of how fragile his body had become. Shelby remained beside him, though the fear of recurrence made even ordinary days feel borrowed. Today, at 87 years old, Tommy Chong is still alive and active, dividing his days between selective acting, advocacy, and the cannabis businesses that helped build his legacy. His estimated net worth of $20 million offers comfort, but what truly anchors him now is the sense of having survived everything he once joked about. Marian Ross as B. Foreman. Marian Ross was born on October 25, 1930, in Albert Lea, Minnesota. She was 68 years old when she played B. Foreman, the sharp, unfiltered grandmother whose brief appearances in That 70s Show, 1998 to 2006, added an unmistakable jolt of old-school authority. Audiences saw confidence and bite, unaware that her private world carried a much quieter ache. Her first marriage unraveled after years of emotional strain, and the divorce left her raising children alone while trying to secure steady roles in the industry. When Happy Days and later Brooklyn Bridge revived her career, the professional momentum was thrilling, yet it came at the cost of personal exhaustion. Long shooting schedules and constant travel carved distance into relationships that were already fragile. Her second marriage to Paul Burke arrived as a late blessing, but his death reopened the loneliness she had fought so long to outrun. As her body aged, the demands of her work became harder to meet. She pushed through recurring pain during the filming of The Evening Star, determined not to let discomfort overshadow one of the most significant roles of her later life. By the time Alzheimer's settled in fully, she had already begun slipping away from the world she spent decades helping to shape. Finally, Marian Ross died on July 25, 2024, at 93 years old, passing at home in Los Angeles after her long struggle with Alzheimer's disease. She left behind a net worth of approximately $10 million, a modest reflection of a career that touched generations of television viewers. Kurtwood Smith, as Reginald Red Foreman. Kurtwood Smith was born on July 3, 1943, in New Lisbon, Wisconsin. At 55 years old, he played Red Foreman, the blunt, sharp-tongued father of the Foreman household, in That 70s Show, 1998 to 2006. His role shaped its tone through discipline, sarcasm, and a buried tenderness that fans came to love. But his on-screen temperament contrasted with the private battles he carried off camera. His long marriage had endured more turbulence than audiences ever imagined. The pressure of the 1980s and early 1990s, years when several film projects faltered, strained the relationship with Joan Perkle to the point where counseling became their last attempt at staying together. Filming RoboCop and later Dead Poets Society took him away for long stretches, creating emotional distance that neither of them knew how to close. The marriage survived, but only after both accepted that his rising profile came with a cost neither had been prepared for. Years later, the body began to reflect the wear of that long career. Hypertension and early heart complications began during the final years of That 70s Show, but he pushed through filming with a quiet stubbornness. When he reprised Red in That 90s Show, the schedule intensified his symptoms, forcing him into periods of rest. In 2025, Kurtwood Smith is 82 years old and still working, choosing roles carefully while managing his health with more discipline than ever before. His estimated net worth of $4 million reflects a lifetime of steady character work, but the real triumph is the marriage that survived fame's harshest years. Debra Jo Rupp, as Catherine Kitty Foreman. Debra Jo Rupp was born on February 24, 1957, in Glendale, California. At 41 years old, she played Kitty Foreman, the warm, fluttery mother whose laughter anchored the emotional rhythm of the Foreman home, in That 70s Show, 1998 to 2006. As the heart of the sitcom, her character softened the edges of every conflict, giving the show its unmistakable sense of comfort. Behind that warmth, however, stood an actress carrying wounds the audience never saw. Her 1993 divorce from Tom Vreek left her shaken in different ways. 16 years of marriage ended in arguments about family, about priorities, and about a career that consumed her energy while offering little stability. Therapy became a lifeline as she rebuilt her emotional footing just as Hollywood finally began to recognize her talent. The success of Friends and Seinfeld opened new doors, but each new role carried other stings. Health concerns emerged quietly. A prediabetes diagnosis in 2010 forced her to confront habits she had long ignored, reshaping her routines during a period when auditions slowed and energy waned. When COVID-19 halted productions, she found herself isolated again, wrestling with the same emotional weight she had faced decades earlier. Returning as Kitty in That 90s Show brought joy, but also the pressure of maintaining stamina that no longer came easily. In 2025, Debra Jo Rupp is 68 years old and still actively working, moving between stage and television with the same determined spirit that carried her through heartbreak and illness. Her estimated net worth of $5 million is modest for a television icon, but every piece of it reflects resilience built one role at a time. Tanya Roberts, as Margaret Midge Pinciotti. Tanya Roberts was born on October 15, 1955, in the Bronx, New York. She was 43 years old when she played Midge Pinciotti. the naive, seductive, well-meaning mother whose comic innocence shaped the lighter tone of that 70s show, 1998 to 2004. Her character became an emblem of suburban glamour gone slightly offbeat, offering warmth wrapped in clueless charm. Yet the woman behind Midge carried far heavier burdens than her sunny on-screen persona suggested. Her marriage to Barry Roberts had once been the grounding force of her world, but as his cancer advanced through the early 2000s, the emotional strain hollowed out her strength. She left that 70s show after season 3 to care for him, and the long nights at the hospital deepened the loneliness she seldom spoke about. After his death in 2006, she refused to remarry, saying privately that the grief had sealed that chapter of her life forever. Years of chronic kidney infections followed, which worsened by decades of Hollywood pressure. When the infections grew more aggressive, her immune system weakened to the point that even small colds left her bedridden. Work slowed, then faded entirely. By late 2020, pain and fatigue shadowed her daily life, but she continued hiking and appearing in live stream chats to reassure fans she was fine. The fall that December revealed the truth her strength had been hiding. The infection had become systemic, and her body could no longer fight what had been silently growing for years. Tanya Roberts died on January 4, 2021, at 65 years old, after a urinary tract infection progressed into sepsis and multi-organ failure, taking her within hours of her final hospitalization. She left behind an estate valued at approximately $8 million, a reminder of the career that brought her fame. Don Stark as Robert Bob Pinciotti. Don Stark was born on July 5, 1954, in Washington, D.C. At 44 years old, he played Bob Pinciotti, the lovable, oblivious, slightly chaotic neighbor whose loud laugh and bad decisions became part of the show's comedic heartbeat in That 70s Show, 1998 to 2006. His performance grounded the lighter side of Point Place, offering both silliness and surprising tenderness. But the joy he portrayed on screen came from a man who had already survived years darker than any sitcom subplot. His first marriage collapsed under the weight of addiction. By the mid-1980s, alcohol had overtaken his career, his finances, and eventually his home life, ending a decade-long marriage in 1985. The depression that followed nearly cost him his place in the industry, until a rehabilitation program and the unexpected mentorship of director Kevin Smith gave him a path back. Even after achieving sobriety, the guilt from those lost years lingered. His health never fully escaped the consequences of that chaos. A lingering back injury from stunt work in the early 1990s flared during filming, forcing him into lifelong physical therapy that he still depends on today. Yet it was during this period of fragility that his second marriage to Laura Shapker became his anchor. Their life together helped stabilize the body and spirit he had once nearly destroyed. Now, Don Stark is 71 years old and continues to act, especially in voice roles that spare him the physical strain that live-action work demands. His estimated net worth of $4 million comes from decades of quiet persistence. Lisa Robin Kelly as Lori Foreman. Lisa Robin Kelly was born on March 5, 1970, in Southington, Connecticut. At 28 years old, she played Lori Foreman, the sharp-tongued, manipulative older sister whose chaotic presence shaped the darker comedic edge of That 70s Show, 1998 to 2006. Kelly infused her with a venomous charm that made the character unforgettable. But behind that role was a broken life that she carried for years. Her marriages collapsed under the weight of addiction. Her first divorce in 1996 marked the beginning of a spiral she never fully escaped, and her second marriage to Grieg Laird in 2005 unraveled through violence, substance abuse, and nights when neither could control the other's rage. Each breakup deepened her dependence on alcohol, intensifying the instability that eventually led to her removal from the show during season 4. The more she fought, the more her body gave in. Years of drinking left her with chronic liver stress, insomnia, and tremors that made acting nearly impossible. She attempted comebacks through small projects like SUX, 2BME, 2012, but each effort was interrupted by legal issues connected to her addiction, DUIs, domestic disputes, and arrests that reflected a woman losing her battle piece by piece. By 2013, rehab became her last refuge. Sadly, Lisa Robin Kelly died on August 15, 2013, at just 43 years old, after an accidental overdose of alcohol and sedatives while in a rehabilitation facility. Her estimated net worth at death was around $1 million. Danny Masterson as Stephen Hyde. Danny Masterson was born on March 13, 1976, in Long Island, New York. He was 22 years old when he played Stephen Hyde, the rebellious, quick-witted outsider whose cynicism anchored the Friend group in That 70s Show, 1998 to 2006. Hyde became the show's moral compass in reverse, the tough-love realist of Point Place. But Masterson's own life followed a darker trajectory than any sitcom script. His marriage to Bijou Phillips began with Hollywood glamour but quickly soured under the pressure of allegations that surfaced in 2017. As the accusations grew and Scientology's involvement became public, the marriage strained to the breaking point. When he was convicted in 2023 for 2 counts of rape, the reality of lifelong imprisonment fractured the relationship completely. Bijou filed for divorce that same year, seeking safety for herself and their young daughter. The collapse of his family mirrored the collapse of his public identity, turning what had once been a stable home into a casualty of legal and moral destruction. Prison life accelerated his psychological decline. The isolation, the threat of violence from other inmates, and the suffocating routine left him with mounting anxiety and depressive episodes he could no longer mask with celebrity composure. Mandatory therapy revealed a man wrestling not only with the consequences of his crimes, but with the loss of every professional achievement he had built. Now, Danny Masterson is 49 years old and serving a 30 years to life sentence at California Men's Colony, with parole eligibility decades away. His estimated net worth of $16 million is partially frozen due to ongoing civil suits involving his victims and the Church of Scientology, leaving his financial future as uncertain as his legal one. His story, once tied to a beloved sitcom, now stands as a stark warning about power, accountability, and the irreversible cost of harm. Topher Grace as Eric Foreman. Topher Grace was born on July 12, 1978, in New York City. At just 20 years old, he joined That 70s Show in 1998 as Eric Foreman, the awkward but endearing heart of Point Place. Eric became the emotional anchor of the series, a reflection of every teenager trying to grow up without losing themselves. But behind that steady presence was an actor quietly torn between loyalty to the show and the weight of his own ambitions. Grace married Ashley Hinshaw in 2016, and although their relationship has remained stable, he has admitted that fame complicated the balance between family life and career. The turbulence began long before marriage, however, when he left the series in 2005 to pursue film, a decision that exposed him to harsh criticism from fans and tension with colleagues. That backlash pushed him toward a period of deep self-doubt that he later described as the closest he ever came to depression. His health has remained largely steady, but he has long relied on yoga and strict routines to manage the anxiety that followed him throughout the early post-sitcom years. Each new project, whether Black Klansman, Interstellar, or Home Economics, came with the fear that he might disappoint the audience that once embraced him. Over time, the quiet discipline he built to survive Hollywood's expectations became the foundation of a calmer, more grounded life. In 2025, at age 47, Topher Grace continues acting while raising his children with Hinshaw and choosing roles that allow him to protect his mental well-being. His estimated net worth is $8 million. Laura Prepon as Donna Pinciotti. Laura Prepon was born on March 7, 1980, in Watchung, New Jersey. In that 70s show in 1998, at just 18 years old, she played Donna Pinciotti, the sharp, rebellious girl whose steady strength grounded the chaos around Eric. Donna became the voice of reason in a town that rarely knew any. But when the cameras stopped, Prepon's own life slowly drifted into a storm she never expected. Her marriage to actor Ben Foster, once a partnership built on artistic ambition, has unraveled into a bitter legal battle by 2025. Broken trust, accusations of improper marital conduct, and Foster's recurring alcohol dependency left their home fractured and their two young children caught in the middle. Prepon now finds herself forced to relive every argument, every failed attempt at reconciliation in court filings. Leaving Scientology in 2015 freed her from a belief system she had defended for years, but it also left her rebuilding her identity while carrying the quiet weight of postpartum depression after her second child. Even during the height of Orange is the New Black, she often filmed through sleepless nights, masking emotional exhaustion with the discipline of someone terrified to lose the stability she had fought so hard to rebuild. Her work became both escape and lifeline. Now, at age 45, Laura Prepon continues acting while navigating a painful divorce and dedicating her energy to stabilizing life for her children. Her estimated net worth is $6 million, strengthened in part by the wellness books she wrote to survive the years when her own mind felt like unfamiliar territory. Shannon Elizabeth as Brooke Rockwell. Shannon Elizabeth was born on September 7, 1973, in Houston, Texas. At age 32, she portrayed Brooke Rockwell, Kelso's unexpected love interest, whose independence and maturity forced him to confront adulthood in That 70s Show in 2005. Brooke's presence added a quiet, emotional shift to the final seasons, hinting at the kind of responsibility the series rarely allowed Kelso to face. But in real life, Elizabeth faced far heavier responsibilities. Her marriage to actor Joseph Reitman, once a partnership built on shared ambition, collapsed into a messy and painful divorce in 2007. Disputes over money and property dragged on long after the relationship ended, leaving both sides bruised. The emotional fallout sent Elizabeth spiraling toward a dangerous addiction to high-stakes poker, where adrenaline masked grief and losses blurred into nights she barely remembered. By the time she acknowledged the problem, millions were gone, and so was the life she once recognized. Recovery brought clarity, but not immediate peace. Reinventing herself outside Hollywood meant letting go of a career that had made her a household name in the American Pie era. She poured herself into wildlife conservation, trying to anchor her life to something gentler, something that didn't demand beauty, fame, or perfection. Even so, the years between fame and purpose remained marked by a silent ache. Now, at 52 years old, Shannon Elizabeth continues activism work while rebuilding her life far from the intensity of Hollywood. Her estimated net worth is $7 million, a reminder of both the fortunes she once risked and the stability she fought to regain after losing so much of herself in the process. And as we look back at the basement where it all began, it's impossible not to feel a mix of nostalgia and heartbreak. The kids who once made us laugh through the haze of the 70s grew into adults facing real-world battles, some triumphant, some tragic, some forever unfinished. Which journey moved you the most, and whose transformation in 2025 truly left you speechless? Share your thoughts below. And if you want more emotional deep dives into the stars who shaped our childhoods, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for the next story.